Hello, Dental A Team listeners. I am so excited to be back here today. I've got Kristy with me. You guys know I love podcasting with the consultant team, and I love each of them for something very, very special. Kristy, you are my gal that I feel like we can talk about anything, always be on the same page. You riff with me very easily, and you always, 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 I have to value this and appreciate it at the end. If I ever ask you for anything I missed, you always catch something and always have a pearl of wisdom. And I just think it's really, really one talented. Like not everyone can do that or think. A lot of people get like stressed, especially podcasting. And two, it just makes me really, really excited for your clients because I know you just operate in that way. You're always thinking of like, oh my gosh, what else can I add? What value can I bring? And your clients are just insanely lucky to have you as a consultant. And your previous clients, I know, are just always checking in with you and they're always asking those simple questions or those hard questions. And Kristy, I think it's just really cool. You're an insanely special human. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of our team. And I hope you understand and know how valued you are, the Dental team, and just personally and professionally.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm honored
Yeah,
to be here and be a part of um, changing dental lives. So,
thank you. And just so everyone knows who's listening, one, podcasts are not like super easy. Recording podcasts can be a little daunting. And that was even before we had to do it by video. And I think about this a lot actually, because I think it's so funny. This is kind of like cell phones. We're gonna go on a little small little tangent because I think it's hilarious. I remember way back in the day when we were like bricks. We had these giant cell phones. And we were like, this is stupid. Like, it needs to be small. So we had this little tiny flip phone that you really couldn't do a lot on, right? Because it was so small, but it was small. We wanted small and compact. And then we went to a BlackBerry and it was like, this is a whole computer and I can do my emails. And then we went small again. We like keep going back and forth and back and forth. And now, iPhone's got it pretty well dialed in, but it's so much bigger than my cell phone was in high school. And I think about this a lot because I think we go forward and backwards in life constantly. This is no different than that because you remember, like I remember Brody was little and I used to do Beachbody coaching. I loved it. It was just like a past life that I absolutely love. The fitness industry, the fitness world is my passion. But I remember we used to get on Facebook Live or we'd do YouTube videos and we were like, hey guys, this is how you make this cake or whatever it was. And then we removed the video aspect, right? And that's when podcasts got popular. And podcasts were not video, podcasts were strictly just talking. And I remember Dana and I, or Britt and I, we'd like get together and we could see each other, but it wasn't being recorded. So we could come however we wanted to look. It was just like, come as you are, we're only here for the voices. And then we added the video back in, and I'm like, wait, like we keep going backwards. Now I feel like we're doing YouTubes all the time. So, anyways, my small tangent there is like going forward and then coming backwards and feeling like you're making progress, but then technology pulls us back a little bit. And I think that we do that in life, in personal life. We do that in habits. We're like, so good, the 30-day sugar detox, like doing so good, right? We get to 28 days and we're like, but just a little bit won't hurt. I just want a little sugar. And we're like, dang it, now we're sliding backwards, or whatever the case might be. I think we do that a lot in life. And it doesn't have to be technology. It can just be habits. It can be anything. And some places, a place that I see it a lot is within our goals within a company. The LA team has company goals. We do the same thing over here. Every like business is what I always say. We've consulted eye doctors and chiropractors, and like business is business. I talked to, my financial advisor about his business structure. He's like, help me with this, CPAs, whatever. Business is business, and we all move forward and fall back and move forward and fall back. And today, Kristy, I thought it might be beneficial, kind of being mid-year-ish, to do a check-in on that. I know we do it with all of our clients, but making sure even non-client doctors who are here, business owners who are listening, that you know that this happens. This is just life. Like we're back on video. Here we are. This is life. And we go forward and then we fall backwards. But no matter what, there's always a space to move forward again or move forward more. If you didn't fall backwards, you move forward more. There's always that space and there's always that availability. And oftentimes we get to this space in the year, June to like August timeframe, and we haven't looked at our trajectory very often. And maybe we look and we're like, oh heavens, Tiff, like I'm like 300 grand short of what I wanted to hit this year. And Kristy, how many times have you had a doctor call you just like, this is it? We got to change my goal. We've got it. We're not doing 3 million, we're doing 2.7. And you're like, no, we're not doing that. Yeah, like, no, we are not here for changing goals. We're here for pushing forward. And I thought it would be fun for us to really take a look at that today and figure out how can you know that you're on or off track? And when you're off track, what do you do to get back on track? Now, Kristy, um, what do you have your clients doing, and what have you always, you've worked with, you've consulted for a while, like you've, what have you always had your clients doing to stay, not even to stay on track, but just to know where they are? Like, how do we know our baselines in business?
Yeah. Well, first off, I always like to start the year projecting out our year, right? So, looking at what we did last year and creating a goal with growth on top of it
Hmm.
and projecting that out for the future. But then also when we do that, taking it and chunking it down. So we may have a big goal, and starting in the beginning of the year, if our goal is 3 million, that can be so daunting, right?
Hmm.
And I think we all have to remember, yeah, we always have to keep our eye on the prize, but we need to also chunk it down. And you made a very good point about it being June, and my mind went to thinking back to the beginning of the year and how we're really excited, thinking of like starting school, even your
Yeah.
first year in college. I'm a freshman and I'm all gung ho and I'm ready to study and I have these habits. And then all of a sudden we start to fall back in routine. So,
Yeah.
um, remembering that each day is a new day to start over. But to your point, right now we have our big goal, and maybe we have a sheet with a thermometer or however you want to fill it, and make sure we're always keeping our eye on that prize. But go smaller, go
Yeah.
to your month view, go to your weekly view, then go to your daily view and chunk it down, because it makes it so much more doable. And we resist the urge to change the goal then,
Hmm.
because we can look and see where we're at and what we have to do to get back on track.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Like, scale it back, look at what the different layers are, and then always looking at if you added these layers together now, does it equate to where you need to be? And something you said, Kristy, was massive. Like, I think so many doctors get into the year, they're like, I'm going to do 3 million this year. And then that's it. And it's like, divide 3 million by 12, that's what we're hitting every month. And then we just go month by month by month. But if we're not looking at our leads, our lags, and our current, then we get lost in this shuffle. And Kristy, I think that's what you're saying, right? Chunk it back and know, and then always look at what we've accomplished and where we have left to go. That June to August timeframe can be seriously pivotal in making or breaking those goals, because if you now look at January to June and you say, okay, what have I done? What is my year to date production so far? And then subtract that from your yearly goal, and you're going to see your gap, right? So that's what you have left to do this year. Sometimes you might look at that and you might see you're $300,000 short. That sounds massive, right? You're like, holy cow. Well, let's divide that by how many months we have left this year. Doesn't mean we throw in the towel and we're done. We say, okay, if I'm going to do this, how do I get this done? And again, what you said, Kristy, it's mid-year, but we're doing the same thing. We're doing the same thing that we did at the beginning year. We're just reevaluating and reassessing where we have left to go. So a lot of times, I've had dentists that were like 100 grand short. Even at the end of the year, we look at it and we're like, oh my God, we barely missed it. Well, let's look at where we missed it. Why did we miss it? What happened to get us to this point? And how do we make sure that this doesn't happen again? And typically it's been missed somewhere during that year where it was like we were short 25 grand on this month, we were short 25 grand on this month, and we were short 10, 10, like whatever it equates to, right? But it's like those add up so quickly that we tend to miss them. So if you get to that mid-year and you say, okay, this is what I have left, let's reassess and look at how long do we have. Christy, something I do get asked a lot is, well, what do we do when doctors are like, let's take this vacation time? Or I've got associates who are like, oh, guess what? Next month I've got CE and I've got this, and I've got office managers and doctors that are calling me and pulling out their hair, and they're like, I have a goal, but how am I supposed to hit this? So, Christy, what do you suggest when they are off goal, they're off track, they've got how much ever money that they need to make up, and then they've got something looming, some sort of maternity leave or something we just didn't really account for? How do you have your doctors really account for that and put it back into their goals?
Yeah. I love that we're talking about this subject, and I know we tend to talk about, bridging the gap when we're behind, and we'll certainly talk about that because many times it's that. But also, don't forget to celebrate if you're ahead,
Mm,
And so celebrate if you're ahead, but not just celebrate, take a look at what you did to get there so you can repeat those processes, right? And it, to your point, Tiff, if we are behind, take a look and chunk it down. What would it take to bridge that gap? And if I have providers looking for time off, factor that into the equation. If we're behind already and we take this much time off, what now will the gap be? So for associates, for owner doctors, it may not be easy to find a temp for them, but for
mm,
hygiene, it's very easy to say, if we're ahead, do I really need to find a temp because we're ahead in our goal?
yeah.
Or do I need to find a temp because we're behind in goal? So it helps you make those the strategic decisions. And with that being said, for owner doctors and associates, if we're behind, can we add in anywhere? Could we add
Mm,
one more hour to the day, or could we work a Friday versus taking it off? What would that do in order to take that week off? And or can we change our block scheduling? Could
mhm.
we add in some bigger rocks? Take our mind back to during COVID when we only did emergency treatment. It's okay if
Yeah.
we push a filling off here or there if it means adding that big rock so we can make up for the loss, right? It's not that we're
Yeah.
not going to do the filling, but could we put it in a month where we're already at goal, if you will?
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are really great points. And something you said there was like work the Friday instead of not working made me think of, I do have an office that does, a few offices that do this, but one in particular does really well at looking ahead 1 to 3 months consistently, if not further. But they're always looking at, okay, if we want to as an office take this time off, or if we have to take this time off for CE or whatever, are there days in the month that we're closed that we could open to make up that production? And I think that's massive. And again, like you said, I'm going to mimic it. You like definitely celebrate when you're ahead, and then look at what does that mean. Now, something I do steer away from, and I know Christy, you do too, is changing the goal because you're ahead. So don't, that doesn't mean next month you do 120 instead of 160. It just means great, we've got padding for if we need to utilize that. So if the time comes, I know I had a practice in February that by March they were like, how are we so short? And when they looked at it, they had hygienists that had called out sick. They had an associate dentist that was out for a week. They had a hygienist that was on surgery. They lost about almost $60,000 just in like crazy schedule happenings that they weren't truly prepared for. And so that can happen at any point. So if you're ahead and then you get to November and it's like, wow, this is kind of crazy, you can account for that. Or if you get to December and you're so far ahead that you're like, hey, actually, like, we're going to take 2 weeks off. We're canceling everything for 2 weeks because we're good. You want to be able to have those flexibilities. And so, Christy, I think it's brilliant the way you have them constantly looking at them. So your practices are always looking at their KPIs, their measurables of where have we gone? Where are we trying to get to? And what do we need to get there so that we can constantly strategize and figure out a new route for that.
Yeah.
Now, What do you suggest if we're, I don't know, say $300,000 short, whatever, 100, I don't care how much it is, but we're getting towards the time of year, we tend to forget this, that June to August timeframe is a good time to look at your goals because September to December can get a little wild, in my opinion, within dentistry. So if they're a little bit short here or a lot of bit short, what do you usually suggest to the doctors going into that kind of holiday season, which is freaking around the corner, which is crazy?
No.
How do you suggest that they start really preparing for that?
Yeah. Well, number one, I like to start preparing early. A lot of people think, we hit the September, right?
Mm-hmm.
And prepare early because we plant those seeds, right? And it doesn't have to be that way. So, number one, looking at our unscheduled treatment, who
Yeah.
can we re enroll that has already been in and we just haven't started treatment on? There's so many different avenues that we can start to look at, and really with the goal of getting our patients healthy,
Yeah.
tap into those resources. Or we have patients within our own schedule coming in that have unscheduled treatment. How could we add more on what we're already doing because we already have them here, and
That's a
capture
good
more?
point.
The other thing that I was going to say, Tiff, is I do have a lot of doctors that are willing to work through a lunch hour. I know
Yeah.
that's not going to win fans with team probably. Yet, if we're behind on goal and we all are part of the goal, could we still honor lunch hours with team, but maybe we rotate through so we don't have to add another day, but just
Yeah.
simply adding that procedure during lunch if it works for the team? So there's so
Mm-hmm.
many different avenues, but if we fail to look at it, then we're already behind the game. But again, to your point, starting now to start preparing for the end of the year and talking about what we have to do to bridge that gap, but tap into the resources we already have with the patients we already have.
That's brilliant. Looking at your unscheduled treatment is massive. And something you said earlier, Christy, I'm going to pull back into this space right now. You said, look at what you've done that's worked, right? So look at what has gotten you here. Whether you're where you want to be or not, things have worked. And that's a space that is often missed in life in general. We're really great at looking back and seeing what could I have done better to have gotten a different result, but we often forget to look at what am I doing right that's producing the right result so that I can repeat that. And when you're looking at your unscheduled treatment, one, if you don't have a lot of unscheduled treatment, but you don't have a full schedule, we need to look at diagnosis and new patients. So that's a space. And when you're not hitting goals, those are all spaces that we forget to look at. Often we're just like tackle the same day treatment, which works if you're diagnosing the treatment, if you're getting the patients into the practice that need treatment. So a lot of times we might be behind goal and we might miss that there's something more underlying. It might be lost in marketing. It might be lost in the right new patients. I know I've got practices that are like, we're getting a ton of new patients, but they're clean patients. Fantastic. I love healthy mouths. I want everybody to have a healthy mouth, but I need dirty mouths. I need unhealthy mouths to feed the production. And so being able to get that good mix takes a lot as well. So, Christy, to your point, like, are we are we celebrating the things that we're doing really well? And then the things that maybe aren't working to move the needle, are we really diagnosing what's truly going on there and tackling the root cause? A lot of times it's within the new patients, it's within the processes. If you've got a ton of outstanding treatment and it's not selling, why? Why aren't patients accepting? If you don't have a ton of treatment and you don't have a full schedule, why? Is it under diagnosis? Or is it a lack of right patients? I know Trish has a client right now. I've had the luxury of watching her consult this client, and it's just been a lot of fun to see her take his, what's the word I want? Like what he's seeing, his view, and just shift his attention, right? So he was getting the new patients, probably not as many as we'd love, but he wasn't focusing really heavily on the diagnosis, but wanted higher case acceptance, blah, blah, blah. So she really helped to shift. And Christy, I've seen you do this too, shifting that focus back into, are we looking at full mouth or did we get stuck on something? I've seen doctors do this where they're like, I'm going to do implants. So we're only looking for implants and we're missing fillings. We're missing the like GP stuff that I know you don't want to do right now, but it's what fills the schedule. And so, Kristy, to your point, really looking at what's working so that we can repeat that and diagnosing what's not working so that we can shift that and make massive impacts. Because sometimes I think that the money is missing because we've got something else is missing and we're maybe not focusing on the right things.
Yeah, I love that you said that. And, something else that came to mind when you were talking is so many times we're looking at the dirty mouth, right? The unhealthy, infected mouth or whatever. But on our healthy patients, it's a great time to take a step back to and say, hey, is there anything you don't like about the shape, size, color of your teeth? So
Yeah.
many doctors want to do cosmetic dentistry, but we never talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So it's a great opportunity to also celebrate the healthy patient. Oh my gosh, you've been coming for 5 years and haven't had a cavity. Keep doing
Yeah.
what you're doing at home. And this is a great time. Is there anything you'd like to change about your smile? Right.
Yeah.
And just by asking some questions, you could probably drum up more treatment in your chair right there.
That's a brilliant idea. I do love that. You do well. This is what I'm talking about, you guys. I said it at the beginning. Christy's like, yes, and I love that. And I use that. You say that a lot, Kristy. Words are insanely valuable and important, I think. And you say yes and a lot. And I've noticed I've started doing that. So thank you for giving me that habit. But it's true. You're constantly thinking like, yeah, for sure, healthy patients. And you can still help your healthy patients in different ways. So, Kristy, thank you for always having that extra nugget, always thinking like, yeah, for sure. And also, this is what you could do. So, Kristy, I think it's invaluable. Our listeners, I know, picked up on it as well. And your clients, again, they're just all of our clients are so lucky, but your clients are truly lucky to have you. So,
Thank you.
you guys, I think our biggest action items, go look at your numbers, go look at where you are, where you're going, and what you need to do to bridge that gap to get there. This is the perfect time of year to really prep the rest of the year and look at what are you offering your patients? Are you offering them everything? Like Kristy said, are we looking at healthy patients too and saying, hey, what else could you want to do? What else do you want to do? Are we looking at those options as well? Or are we super focused on something right now? Let's broaden your focus, change the game, and figure it out, guys. As always, Kristy, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the invaluable information. And listeners, thank you for being here, whether you're a current client, a future client, or just here to listen. Like, you guys are so valuable to us, and I hope that you really truly feel that from us. If there's anything we can do to help you, to support you, or guide you, hello at thedentaleteam.com. Again, if you're not a newsletter subscriber, know that there's a slew of information in there. We write almost all of the newsletters from the consultant side, and we answer a lot of the emails that come through or the social requests and engagement over there too. So thank you, everyone. Kristy, thank you.
You're welcome.
And you guys will catch you next time.